Hello snowboarders of the internet, I'm your host Avran LeFeber, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the Telos Caldera Snowboard. That's right, minimal swallowtail, optimal powder float. This board features Telos's centered camber with directional nose rocker. It's directional cam rocker. So basically you got this camber profile that's pretty much camber from the tail forward into this rocker in the nose. That's going to give you that load and pop of traditional camber, but that ease of entry in and out of turns from that rocker, as well as optimal powder float. This board is available in 148, 152, 156, 160, and 164. I rode this board at Copper Mountain on a day that was overcast skies with pockets of blue, low winds, moderate temperatures. There was about 5 to 7 inches of fresh snow on top of frozen crusty chunder underneath. There was perfect corduroy with a little bit of powder on top of it, and by about midday, Lower Mountain had turned completely lumpy, and I rode it with my Rome Black Label bindings and my K2 Thraxis boots. This board is softer than you're going to think. It comes in with a playful middle of the road freeride flex, and I mean barely in the middle of the road. Now it is directional, so you do have more play in the nose. A lot of that's just mainly due to the rocker. The tail is still very soft, but that center section through the inserts is a little bit stiffer with a moderate amount of torsional flex. Now this board is stable as long as you're on perfect conditions. The second you get into rutted out terrain or you take it up to top speeds, you start getting a little flap in the nose and you feel that chatter resonate back underfoot, and then lumpy terrain, this board gets kicked around or knocked around, so you want to keep your knees bent. It's a very lively board. When it comes to popping with this board, that center camber loads up easily and has a lot of rebound in it. So the second you really push into it, you're gonna pop. You can send cat track gaps, side hits, little launchers. You can even go into the park on a powder day and launch the jumps and land in the powder landings. It's a board that is very easy to get in the air. You notice how reactive it is and that it wants to snap. With the softer flex, that rocker in the nose, you got a board that you can butter on. I mean, yeah, it's a powder board, so you're gonna be powder buttering, but you can pop a 180, lock in on that rocker. The camber section never fights you. It's just a smooth, even, consistent flex. Now when you get on the tail, you can do high-speed wheelies. I mean, you don't really have too much of that back there, but if you want to get sideways, you can basically sit on the outside of your back binding and this thing feels locked in. It's a playful flex. It doesn't fight you. You don't have to worry about it. When you're skirting around the resort and you're trying to find powder, sometimes you end up on a cat track or a groomer. Now with that said, this board can actually carve when you get on there. It's very quick and nimble, but the problem is you run into limitations with it due to the softer flex. You notice right away that you can overpower this board if you really try to lay a turn. You want to be a little more subdued, a little more laid back, and just try to throw a slash in there. Now with it having that immense rocker in the nose, you'd think that it really wouldn't grip as well, or that you're going to end up with like a little more kick out. No, just that centered camber on this board really does take over and allow you to drive the board. But as I said, there's limitations, so you got to be a little bit more laid back. It does steer outside that front foot, but then it drives from inside the front foot back. And if you're really center flexing the board, you're pretty much steering from just inside that front binding back through the tail. It's a board that if you want to lay a deep carve with in super soft snow, go for it. But if it's firm, rutted, little chundery, you're gonna get knocked around. So be prepared when you're on edge that this board can kick out on you. Who's this board for? The powder riding resort guy that wants something that's a little bit more playful and lively and reactive versus more damp and powerful that lets you plow through everything. Riding this board reminded me of my Telos mic Ranquet with just more taper to it, really. That's kind of how it felt, just more directional, more tapered. It's very loose and playful. You can just throw this thing around if you want to. It has limitations. It floats well, no denying that in POW, but the second you hit lumpier or heavier snow, you start to get knocked around a little bit. You feel it more. You got to keep your knees bent. It really doesn't plow through the crud as well as other powder boards I've ridden, but if you're looking for something super lively and nimble that's going to be great in tight trees, but still give you optimal setback and more nose and a little bit of taper. This is really it. This is really solid. Comparable boards, the Endeavor Archetype, the Amplid Aloha Vibes, the Libtech MC Wayfinder 2. Binding recommendations, the Bent Metal Joint, the Union Strata, the Burton Malavita. This has been my review of the Telos Caldera. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you own one? Are you gonna buy one? Leave me a comment down below. Let's have a conversation about this snowboard. If you're new here, remember to subscribe, click the bell, get those notifications. That way you're not missing any of the videos we got coming out for all you snowboarders of the internet. And if you really like what we're doing over here and you want to support us further, swing on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP and become a member. I could tell you more here, but I got a video over there that explains it so much better. As always, I've been your host, Avran LeFeber, and I'll see you in another video.